Hello there, and welcome to this episode of Chats Over Coffee with My Yoga Teacher, the podcast where the yoga teacher Kayla McCormack talks to her student, who is also a comedian, Peter Brush, who is me. And we'll be drinking a hot drink during the process of this conversation, but I edit out the slurps because they're disgusting. So, you ready? Here comes the show. You know Elvis died on the toilet, right?
Okay, I didn't know this, but I'm going to just say, yeah.
You didn't know that?
No, I don't really know a whole lot about Elvis. I feel a little bit silly because one of my best friends when I was growing up, she was such a big Elvis fan. And I just was like, I'm not a big Elvis fan. So
my gran loves Elvis, but she hates the Beatles. She says the Beatles ruined music. You know,
really?
They're not that different, really. I mean,
the Beatles ruined music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything was
That's
fine
a very
before
strong
then,
opinion.
but but obviously, he died. He had a heart attack on the toilet.
Okay.
I assume he was straining too much or something. Anyway, it's not a dignified end, is it?
Oh no.
That's what happened. But there's this conspiracy theory, isn't it, that he is still alive?
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of think that must be what people have been told in the way that, if you've got a dog that's sick and you don't want the kids to know that the dog's going to die, you say it's gone to live on a farm. You think that's the equivalent for old people that love Elvis. So did he really die on the toilet? No. He's
gone to live on a farm.
For some reason.
For mental health reasons.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Hashtag farm life.
I found out was apparently really, really bad for the environment is cryptocurrency.
Yes, absolutely horrendous. It's also bad for casual gamers as well.
Oh, you're a casual gamer though, aren't you?
Yeah. It means that all the computer parts that you would use to mine cryptocurrency, like graphics cards and stuff, are ridiculously overpriced because people use them to make cryptocurrency instead.
So you don't have any then, do you?
No, I would not support cryptocurrency.
Okay, I just wondered maybe you.
For one, it's not very environmentally friendly, and for two, pirates like it. So.
Okay.
And not the good kind, not the Pirates of the Caribbean kind of pirates,
Yeah, the jolly ones that just party and do nothing.
Not those. Not give me more rum and mead and wenches. Not those kind of pirates.
Well, that's just the veneer of respectability to those pirates. And I don't know if you know your history, but they've been up to a few things over the years.
Yeah, pirates. Love pirates. Pirates are great. They had a life expectancy of 6 months.
You mean a 6 months, as in as a 6-month-old baby, or do you mean 6 months?
No, once they decided they were going to be a pirate and go on a pirate ship, they lasted about 6 months and then they would die.
It wasn't like all these sort of 4-month-old babies having to walk the plank or something.
That does not make any sense.
Should be crawling the plank, shouldn't it, really?
Yeah, obviously, if they're babies.
Or taking your first steps, but it's just to go into the sea. So that's a video that you don't want to be showing you.
Yeah, oh look, his first steps into the sharks. Yeah. Do like the idea of a pirate ship full of pirate babies. That's kind of cool.
You couldn't prosecute them, could you?
Or underage.
You get the babies to traffic all the rum and stuff, wouldn't you? So the reason that it's bad for the environment is because you leave your computer on all day, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
We all have computers on all day, though, don't we? So, pretty much, don't we?
Well, if you don't have a good computer... I remember people leave their computers on because they take a long time to start up. My computer takes less than 10 seconds to turn on. So if your computer takes a long time to start up, you really need to think about getting it, sorted.
For the environment.
For every reason.
Okay.
The rule that I've always used is if you're going to be off your computer for more than an hour, turn it off. If you're going to be on it, then that's different.
Yeah.
So yes, you don't want to leave your computer on all day because that's not very good.
But then that's what cryptocurrency needs you to do, isn't it? Because of the mining and stuff.
But it's more than that, though. It's like leaving your computer on working a really hard video game at the same time. So it's actually working hard, like leaving your kettle on or leaving a vacuum cleaner on. It's not just on, because any computer, if it's not doing anything, it will go to some sort of sleepy mode. The screen turns off, it goes black if you don't move the mouse, things like that, because it's kind of cooling down and it's not doing much. But when you run your cryptocurrency, it's like running a really hard video game for whatever graphics cards and stuff you've got. So it's really working. It's not just on, it's on and working.
So you wouldn't be opposed to it if they had more efficient computers programs then? You'd be...
Oh, well, that would help.
Okay. I mean, a guy I used to go to university with has launched a cryptocurrency in the last couple of weeks.
A new currency?
A cryptocurrency, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
Now, he's a bit of an eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
So he's either going to end up a millionaire or in a ditch. I don't really know which way it's going to go. Because money is actually because I was thinking cryptocurrency does seem like a bit of a grift to me. Like it seems like it doesn't really exist. It's like, I was like, oh, people kind of have to pretend these things are worth something. But actually, actual money is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like actual money doesn't exist unless we all kind of agree that money exists and that it means something to say. There's that whole thing, isn't it? On a fiver, it isn't say this is £5. It's that whole I promise to pay the bearer upon receipt of this £5. Mm-hmm. So it's not. So money doesn't even exist unless you agree with it. So maybe cryptocurrency isn't. Is it because it's just not backed up by
by any sort of government?
Yeah. From the sounds of things, people make money from cryptocurrency just by basically selling the cryptocurrency back into dollars anyway. So.
Yeah, that's how you make the money. You get the cryptocurrency. It's almost like stocks and shares, but stocks and shares in cryptocurrency rather than in something worth,
So the guy is, now I don't know how this works, but him and his presumably other eccentric mate, they have gone to Bolivia or somewhere and have some sort of metal detectors where they found out where a meteorite landed, and they have been finding the bits of meteorite on the floor.
Okay.
And they are using parts of the mineral deposits or something to back up their new cryptocurrency.
Oh.
Which is called like Space Gold Coin or something like that. So I got asked to join the Facebook group for it, which I have not.
Oh.
I'm supportive from afar, but not in terms of getting involved at all.
That sounds really interesting.
I don't know. Is that different to mining because he's actually found bits of space dust, or I don't know. If he becomes a billionaire or something, then I might ask him to. Well, actually, I can't ask for any favours, can I? If I'm not getting in on this on the ground, I can't really.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I listened to a big podcast about cryptocurrency and NFTs recently because I didn't know what they were.
Oh, like when people own the first copy of something, but it's all electronic anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is it non-fungible token or something like that, or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, non-fungible token. That's it. So it's a unique token encrypted with an artist's signature, verifying ownership and authenticity and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, it was on the news.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's well, obviously it's not a big thing for working class people, but it's a big thing for people in Silicon Valley with loads of money that want to but it feels like art collecting in a very modern sense. I don't know whether you can own the original meme or something like that.
I think that's
how it works?
Like
so that really, really popular meme of the guy with his girlfriend and another girl walks past and he turns around and goes, "Phew."
Oh, yeah.
So do you think that's probably the most expensive piece of artwork in the world now or something? Do you think the owner of that's got it hanging up in his Silicon Valley apartment next to a original Botticelli or something? It's not the same, is it? It's not...
Oh, I don't like that idea.
I heard this amazing story about NFTs and cryptocurrency because I think a lot of people use cryptocurrency to buy the NFTs.
Oh, right.
So there was some bloke that was trying to set up a Street Fighter type game where everybody that wanted to get involved in the game had their own avatar, but the avatars were everyone's unique NFTs, and it was of monkeys, so it was all slightly different monkeys that someone had drawn, and that some people were paying tens of thousands of pounds to own the NFT so that they could fight as that character in the game.
Okay.
So he arranged all this, and people were giving tens of thousands of pounds and being transferred to him so that they could all play this game. And then one day the website just wasn't there, and he just ran off with all the money. Because it's not regulated, so it just made I think millions from it actually.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Because at the very least, if you're working in real cash, you have a lot of safeguards. Even at the very least, if you get offered a service, you give them money for a service and they don't provide the service, if you do that on your credit card might just reimburse you, and then they might chase them and go through the courts and stuff, and you might just forget about it. It depends on what kind of money you're talking, obviously. But, there's always a risk that you can... That's crazy.
Yes. But I also sort of thought, what loser is spending £8,000 on a monkey drawing to play on?
That sounds awful.
Yeah, I can get a girlfriend.
Jesus.
That's obviously don't mean that.
So we've been on for an hour and 15 minutes,
and we
haven't really touched on much.
Okay.
We've just been talking.
Is there a problem with that?
I just feel like maybe we should, mention something relevant to our topic.
Yeah.
Yoga.
Oh yeah, that's your field, isn't it? Yeah. So,
yeah. But I don't know.
I did. You said something about sitting down being as bad as smoking the other day.
Yeah. So you've heard that, right?
No.
You've never heard that?
Never heard that.
Okay, so there's this thing that was cropping around for the last, I would probably safely say, 8 to 10 years. There's been a thing that sitting is as bad for you as smoking.
So is that why you should walk with your cigarettes then? Just to...
That's not what I'm saying.
If you take anything out of this episode, it's that bit of advice.
That make sure you go for a walk when you smoke, all right?
Yeah.
No, but basically, the idea is that you have a sedentary life or whatever, however you want to say it. So you sit a lot, and that's not good for you. But they were trying to, I think by they, I mean governments and things and doctors and people and things were trying to convince people to not sit so much and to try and think of a marketing strategy basically for this kind of health awareness. And one of the things they came up with was sitting is as bad as smoking. And I just was focusing on back health and specifically back pain in the last couple weeks for our focus classes. So then the next thing that kind of cropped up from that was, well, usually those kind of problems come from sitting. So then it was like, well, what if you don't actually have any problems yet, but, they're sitting? So then I kind of started, investigating and peeking into that a bit and stuff. And I mean, obviously, smoking damages your lungs. So, no, sitting does not damage your lungs, but sitting does have effects on the body, specifically related to heart disease and heart issues, which is also very influenced by smoking. So I think that's where they pulled the connection there, is they both increase your risk of heart problems, basically. But they're very different. And I suppose the main thing is just, like I said, we as a society have very clearly gone down this route of smoking is bad for you, it kills you. Stop smoking, please. But we've never said that about sitting. Please, everyone, just stop sitting.
I'm just a social sitter, though. I don't...
I just sit down if everybody else is sitting down.
Yeah. So. You're passing that chair around, I can...
But, I mean, the idea is that obviously when you're sitting, you're not doing something else. So it's... it came in here and there, but they basically said, if you can get up and move around, and they called it moderate exercise, but basically have a walk, if you walk, not a mosey, but you only need 60 minutes a day, 60, 70 or something like that, and then that, kind of negates all the negative effects of sitting for quite a long period of time. So, and any moderate activity, so a movie yoga class, not a relaxing restorative class per se, but a class that gets your heart pumping, gets you moving and stretching and things is good. But then the other thing as well is this position, because obviously we are both sat down right now, this position of the body where the knees are up and the thighs are parallel with the floor and the hips are bent, this shortens the muscles in the hip flexors. And it weakens your abdominal muscles. So your belly doesn't need to do anything, especially if you've got a back on your chair. And you're not perched like a little, like a bird or something. So you just basically, this is not necessarily the healthiest thing to do for an extended period of time. Even just holding it for too long is not very good for you. Really, we should stand up every hour and move and walk and just have a little stretch, kind of just reach your hands up, that kind of thing.
When I had office jobs, they did start to tell us to do that sort of thing. And so I'd be like, oh, I'll get the post or whatever.
Yeah, get a cup of tea, grab, go check the inbox. Yeah, just get up and move. But I suppose it's harder when you're at home. Like when the lockdowns first happened, I started having some real flare-ups with my sciatica-like pain. So it's nerve related, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was sciatica because I've never had it actually checked out by a doctor because I manage it myself without too much issue doing yoga. So that pain really flared up, and I realized it was because I was sitting all the time. I was just sitting, even though I was teaching a class a day, I was sitting so much because I was at home, and that's what you do when you're at home. You sit. Now I don't sit as much because I've got used to the fact that I'm at home all the time. So now I'll stand in the kitchen, or, I'll stand when I'm having a talk with hubby or whatever. I'll stand and I might do little loops around the living room or something while we're talking. I don't
loops around the living room while you're talking sounds...
You don't do that? You don't walk and talk? My mum used to do that on the phone.
I walk and talk. I can't sit on the phone. I always walk on the phone.
Yeah, walk on the phone. Exactly. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm thinking about. And even that will make such a big difference. You don't have to get your heart rate. It's not talking about exercise. Exercise always helps you, but it's not necessarily talking about that. It was just talking about the difference between just sitting all the time, letting your body basically go weaker in the areas that hold you. So your stomach weakens, the muscles that are deep in, forward rounding. So that's just using a desk. So even if you use a desk, but not necessarily sitting all the time, but definitely desk work, it shrinks the size of your lungs. You don't breathe as much. You don't stretch the little intercostal muscles between the ribs. So you can't take a deep breath. You can't actually do it because there's no space for the breath to go because they've all shrunk. And then the hip flexors weaken as well. So then they're not very strong. So when people ask me, how do I step forward in my downward dog? I mean, obviously everyone's a little bit unique, but a lot of the time it's that muscle there. It's just not strong enough to pull the knee up. Quite interesting stuff, really.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting your foot down, do you?
So when you're in downward dog and you want to step your foot forward between the hands.
All right. I think I'm good at that. I don't know.
Well, that's fine then. That's probably because you walked a lot. I mean, I don't know if you walk a lot now, but you definitely walked a lot.
Yeah, I walk.
We had all the lockdowns and stuff.
I'm always walking about.
Yeah. So that strengthens the muscle. I wouldn't necessarily say that stretches it, but that will certainly add some strength to it and stuff if you tend to walk. Whereas sitting is one of the few things where it's that muscle is short because you've pulled it. So you've bent the knee, so you've pulled it together and it's shorter. And then on top of that, you don't need to use it to hold that shortness because you're relaxed as you sat down. So then it weakens as well. So it gets short and weak. It's not many muscles can do both, get short and weak.
Are we sort of designed, I'm not going to say, ergonomically, is that the right, or anthropomorphically? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Is that the same?
Say what you mean, and then I'll tell you if that word was right.
Are we not designed to sit? I know we've fashioned, especially modern chairs in offices and stuff, are fashioned in a way to support various parts of your back and stuff so that you don't get so much back pain and things. Yeah. But is the whole, how people say that we're not supposed to sit on the toilet, the way that we sit on the toilet, is it similar in that we're not naturally supposed to be sitting on chair-like objects? Is that part of it, or would we be sitting on rocks in the old... I mean, you don't get many rocks that have lumbar support and a backrest, do you? So...
No, I would say that chairs are designed for our bodies.
Yeah.
So chairs are good. It's not better for you to sit on a rock unless you're going for the idea that it's an abnormal shape, so you're going to be using your core muscles to hold you.
Right.
When some people use a ball instead of a chair at their desk, a big bouncy ball.
Well, when they're pregnant,
those big Pilates balls. Yeah, you see pregnant women on them, exactly like that. But the idea is that you're in an odd position and you have to use muscles to hold yourself there. But you're not necessarily halfway through a squat holding yourself at your desk. You're just not in a chair. It's just slightly different. It just uses more muscles or whatever to balance on the bouncy ball. But no, I think the issue isn't that the chair is bad or that this shape is bad, but any shape for 8 hours a day is going to be bad. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's just you're not moving.
If you stood up for 8 hours a day, would that also be bad? Or?
They're probably bad for your feet, to be honest. Unless you get some good shoes.
Because they do that sometimes have those workspaces, don't you, where you stand all day at the desk now, probably.
Yeah, I've got a
Google
standing
probably
desk, but mine
that
goes up and down. So. But yeah, where you can stand. I think the biggest thing is your body is made to move. Your body's not made to be still. So even standing still is probably not a good idea, but you probably won't. It probably wouldn't happen. If you stood, you would move because you would be tired after a few hours. So you would start to wiggle and shift and change position and lean and, maybe put your foot up on your leg, or, you'd start to try and release some of the pressure somewhere by wiggling. Whereas in a chair, you don't have to do that to be comfortable. So it's easier to hold for a really long time. But the main thing is just to move,
Yeah.
Sorry, I just used my hands emphatically and threw my mic. So, okay, there we go. We should put that back. I caught it as it was flying.
That was impressive. Yeah, I did see that.
Thank you.
So on a fundamental level, like the whole yoga is moving things that you wouldn't necessarily move in your sedentary lifestyle. You talked about countering lifestyle a lot, don't you? Anyway, but I think that you end up moving bits that you wouldn't necessarily move. I don't know if this is something I heard somewhere, but is it also partly to do with blood circulation in parts of your body as well? Is that sort of enhanced by doing yoga poses, for example? Like every now and then I do a yoga with Adrian video or something. Sorry, I know it's, I know that makes me cheating on you.
I feel like you're cheating on me with another yoga teacher.
She's good, but I wouldn't want to talk to her. But
sorry, Adrian.
Yeah, it's all right. She can just console herself with her Adidas sponsorship and millions of YouTube subscribers.
Millions of followers.
But she'll say things every now and then. She'll be like, "Oh, this is really good for your liver," and that sort of thing. Huh? But is that because blood's going towards the liver? Because there's, I don't know, it sounds not like a quack thing, like removing toxins in certain areas and stuff like that. But is that actually sort of what's going on? Like more blood flow going to certain areas is moving things about and cleaning things up? Is that sort of what's happening?
Yeah. There is. So there is a way to target different organs based on movements. So they talk about there's a lot of talk around twisting being detoxing.
Yeah, that would have been where it was.
But to be honest, the fundamental basis of it is just that a lot of your systems can do with a bit of help. So if you say you have your lymph system, which is tubes and fluid that run around the body that take your lymph fluid, and your lymph fluid governs your immunity, as well as lots of other things. Your white blood cell counts, and so it's immunity and things like that. So it's really important stuff. But as we know, we don't have another heart. We only have one heart. And our heart works for our blood, not our lymph fluid. So the only way to get the lymph fluid around the body is to move. The body must be moving to get that fluid around. And if you're very, very sedentary, it can cause problems. But on top of that, obviously your body wants to move the fluid, so it naturally has ways of moving things, just like your digestive system naturally moves the food through your whole system. So all the way, you eat it, and then there you go, you digest, as we know. But you can help even that digestion. You can help the food move through the intestines with twisting. So it actually helps that movement happen. And it's the same for the lymph system, and it can be the same for the circulatory system, so for your blood, assuming you go about it in a comfortable way for you. So obviously, if you're assuming you have no heart issues, then maybe you would do a vigorous class, get your heart pumping, blood will be going everywhere, fingers are, not cold anymore from sitting at your desk, things like that. It makes a difference. And for your organs, those things, you can target those organs based on those movements. And perhaps there's a little bit of theory around, in a sense, a self-massage idea. So there's a theory behind compression and release, a medical side of it, where if you put pressure on something, you could do it on your hand. You could squeeze your finger and you can watch it go white and then release, and then it floods back with color again. So you've pressed the blood out of the tip of your finger, and when you release it, fresh blood comes. It's not the same blood. That blood's gone, and new blood has come in. So it's a similar idea with organs. You can add pressure to an organ based on your shape, and then when you release, fresh blood comes in. But whether that's as good as not having a drink on a Friday night, it doesn't really make up for the fact that, you just got smashed last night or something. Like, it's not going to make your liver okay with the fact that
So it's not a hangover cure just to get up next morning. And
it's not. It's not an excuse to go out and have 10
drinks. Just need to squeeze the blood out and then it's going to be fine. So,
yeah, it's not the same. It's not an excuse for having it.
Presumably the blood is still circulating anyway, but are you just like applying pressure to it to make it so that it's like...
Yeah, well, like the idea is that like it can help because it's very complicated, but and I can't say I understand it properly, but like there's a little bit of the idea of blood pressure. So it's not just your blood flow, there's also pressure in your body. Like you don't have air in your blood vessels. It's just liquid. It's it's sealed. Like when you see pictures of your blood vessels, you always show you like blood here and a little air pocket and the the lining of the blood vessel and
like it's
a
pipe
that's just
or something.
Exactly, like it's a pipe, but it's not because there's no air. If you put if you put air in your blood vessels, it's dangerous. My dad used to have an air compressor, to fill up your tires for your car and stuff because he's a mechanic. And one of the things he used to do with his air compressor was blow the dust off of him after he's been working. But he would always say, like, back up, don't come near me. And that doesn't go anywhere near your skin. Because if you actually got air into your veins by putting that air compressor right against your skin, it could be quite dangerous because you're sealed. So there is a little bit of, like, pressurized does make a difference. It can literally help clean up a little bit, like any particles that have stuck to the sides and stuff like that. Though, like, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah,
so.
Always the caveat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that all of a sudden you're going to not have high cholesterol because you do yoga. Like, that's not, that's not what I'm saying. But I do think, like, there's a lot of, like, every little bit helps with the body. Your body's trying to do its best, and every little thing that you can do will help it along that little bit more and be just that little bit more happy and a little bit more, Well, in the end, yoga was invented as a form of movement so that monks can sit. So you want to sit, you do some yoga, and then you'll be able to sit really comfortably and you won't have any guilt. No, I'm joking. You shouldn't have guilt anyway, but that was what it was made for. It was made to counter sitting so much. I mean, I'm pretty sure they didn't sit in chairs, but...
Yeah, they had rocks with backrests and lumbar supports, yeah.
Exactly. But, the idea is there that we need to move and then we can be comfortable when we're doing something that maybe we want to do more. I mean, maybe you don't love yoga or you don't love getting up and exercising, but it doesn't matter because you love everything else. So you spend that 1 hour or 2 or 5 hours a week or however much time you want to spend on your practice so that the rest of the time, the rest of the 24 hours in a day, you are comfortable and happy and can sit on the couch and watch a movie without feeling like you ache or something, It's
building up credit. That's what I see it as sometimes.
Yeah, there you go.
Who likes exercise? No one. I mean, to be fair, yoga's more enjoyable than the vast majority of exercises that really push. Like going for a run is horrendous. But
I hate
afterwards, you feel better afterwards, but that's probably because you stopped running. You feel bad when you're doing it, but afterwards you do feel better, but it's not pleasant, is it? You just got...
The only thing that I would say might be classed as exercising that I have found quite pleasant is kind of dance exercising.
Right.
Like when there's like loud music and you're exercising, you're not dancing. You'd never dance like that if you were out anywhere in the world, but you're doing it here till your Zumba class, and it's kind of fun.
Maybe.
And I suppose you could do other things like where the exercising isn't the point of it, like going for a hike or something where you're trying to get to a viewpoint, where you're trying to get up to the top of a mountain and then you get a pretty view, and the point is the experience, not the exercise, but then technically you're exercising while you're doing it. Maybe that would be a good...
That's the same thing though, because it's still a payoff for the hard work,
though,
isn't it? So it's
you're right.
Yeah. I should just say that you have said that I walk about and stuff like that, but there have been periods where I've been very sedentary. I spent a long time in cars because, like, sometimes going 3 hours somewhere, 3 hours back, and so 6 hours...
You need a tour bus.
6 hours sat in a car is a long time to be sitting.
Yeah, that is.
And before I did... I think it's before I did yoga. I would get pains in my legs and stuff, and my foot would cramp from being on the clutch.
Yeah.
None of that happens now, though. And I think it could be directly related to taking up a yoga practice, I think.
Well, obviously, I'm going to say it is.
Well, yeah, you would do, but...
But yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know. But yeah,
I do correlate it to feeling less like shit. But yeah, I definitely had like more aches and pains
and that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that people have to go absolutely bonkers and worry about sitting like you would if you were kind of, maybe like you might if you were a smoker. But there's that idea that, anything for too long too much of anything is a bad thing. If you survived off just kiwis, that probably wouldn't be very good for you either. It's like, yeah, they're really good for you, but you can't just eat kiwis for the rest of your life.
Too much yoga bad for you as well, I think.
Yeah, I would say yeah. Unless you practice like loads of different styles of yoga.
I thought you were about to say, unless you come to my classes.
No, I mean, like, because, there's Raja Yoga, which isn't physical. That's just like meditation. And then there's physical yoga. And then there's lots of degrees of physical yoga in terms of like you could take restful yoga and sleeping yoga. And so maybe you could find a way to make yoga your whole life without it being negative. Like I think maybe Kundalini teachers do that kind of thing.
But you couldn't do a 24-hour vinyasa class, could you?
I would not recommend it.
Not even for charity.
Oh my god! Well, I'm not doing it for charity.
No.
So.
Well, you don't want to like save the rainforest or something, wouldn't you do that?
I did do it. I did do a charity class before COVID, round about the time that Australia had all their really bad fires a few years ago, just before COVID, and one of my friends who lives in Tokyo was setting up a initiative, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think that's the right word. But anyway, she set up this thing and she said, like, everyone do yoga for Australia, 100% charity. These are the charities. Here's the promotional materials. And then she asked if anybody wanted to hop on board, with what she was doing. So she taught a few classes and I taught one here in England. So that was quite cool. Mm. And the one I taught here in England ended up making like 200 quid. And there was only like 15 people in it. So I thought that was really quite good. I was really pleased with that.
Good, yeah.
And I tried to make it extra special and fun. Like I didn't call downward dog during the class. I called it downward dingo. And I gave everyone a little origami koala. There was like a bookmark that I made. I made like 20 of them or whatever and gave them away. And I also had a special playlist that had like didgeridoos and stuff like that in it. And
in excess.
And I used eucalyptus. Yeah, I used eucalyptus oil for like a head massage at the end, which I haven't done since COVID, but like I used to do that, like little press on the shoulders and stuff like that. And I used to have the oil on my hands so that you would kind of smell that, when I came near. And I used eucalyptus for that. It was actually quite a fun little thing that I put together. I quite enjoyed that, but no, it only lasted like an hour and a half or something. It wasn't a yoga marathon.
Yeah. Right. Do you want to call it a day then?
So we covered loads.
Yeah, well, you always think that, but then I always listen back and think, oh, actually.
About 20 minutes. Cut.
Hello again, and I'll shortly be to say goodbye. Also, but firstly, just before I do, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed that, because, we do our best, you know what I mean? There's 33 other episodes if you've not heard them, so they're all pretty evergreen, they're not really topical, so if you fancy it, then just dip in whenever, although probably wouldn't bother with the Euro 2020 episode anymore. If you do enjoy the show, don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends, give us a nice review or something like that. It's really, really helpful, so we appreciate that if you feel like it warrants it. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much, and have a good day.